What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and today we're talking about a very nice but very weird leak that just came out from PlayStation that apparently they are downright pissed at Bungie, claiming that they've lost them billions of dollars. And I want to go through this leak because it's just kind of baffling to me, if I'm being honest. But let's go through it bit by bit. Hi, I hope you're having a great day. If you could, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So part of the reason this leak is so strange to me is because it's not even been 2 years since PlayStation bought Bungie for $3.6 billion. And this at the time was actually seen as a huge win. The idea that PlayStation was going to have a multi-platform studio. Obviously their main game Destiny is on Xbox, it's on PC, it's on PlayStation. So this seemed like an interesting way to generate extra money. Now, later on, Sony said that this is the beginning of their live service initiative, that they wanted to have a games as a service style version of games like The Last of Us and Horizon, and basically anything they thought that could become a living, existing world with battle passes and microtransactions. They were attempting to do that with Bungie's help. Well, apparently, all of that has completely fallen apart internally. So there's two main sources for this, and we're going to take a look at both of them. But the first one is this big video by Axtercross. I never know how to pronounce this guy's name, but essentially he got an email apparently about the future of Destiny and about how Sony is ready to just straight up consume Bungie, just eating the leadership and maybe breaking the company apart. So Bungie's leadership is viewed as a problem. We know that Sony's takeover, if possible, if not likely, wow. And we know that Final Shape pre-orders are very, very low, which is apparently supposed to be the last expansion or one of the last expansions of Destiny 2. So basically, Paul Tassi is the biggest Destiny journalist. He writes about other gaming stuff, but I think this is one of his main bread and butters. And he's like, okay, this might be real, but I don't know, this is stuff that people have said before. Well, another leaker actually chimed in, and I want to go through this bit by bit because it's very obviously somebody that does know what they're talking about, and it points to some cracks in the PlayStation armor. So I'm writing this on a throwaway account. Please use this info to corroborate the other sources you may have. Internal perspective at Sony is very negative towards Bungie right now. It is seen as a failed investment, and strategies are being discussed to revolve around recouping losses. Wow, so they're essentially saying that the $3.6 billion they spent, they've made almost none of that back. Okay, so that is weird to see on paper, but other discussions have actually sort of confirmed this. Apparently, Bungie was losing money right before PlayStation bought them. Part of the reason that Sony even saw a price tag on the studio is because they were beginning to flounder, and it seems like PlayStation thought that they could swoop in and save them and make some extra cash in the process, and it managed to completely collapse. Now, part of the reason this is just so strange is the timing of it. This is right as Jim Ryan is beginning to retire. Jim Ryan, the current head of PlayStation, is about to quit, and it seems like his final order has been to try and downsize a lot of different aspects of PlayStation. We have seen thousands of layoffs of a bunch of different studios, even Insomniac, which is one of the most profitable PlayStation studios, because a lot of these different parts of PlayStation were working on those live service games. Naughty Dog was doing that Last of Us Online. Guerrilla was working on Horizon Zero Dawn. Obviously, everybody, though, it sounds like that they were being reported to talk to Bungie. Bungie was going to help them make these live service games because they have so much experience with growing and functioning freaking Destiny. So it seems like all of this is just possibly imploding like a house of cards. Destiny doesn't know what they're doing. Bungie is actually just not being the taste maker that perhaps PlayStation wanted with their other live service games, many of which have now been canceled, including the Spider-Man one. It's weird to think about them trying to figure out how to get back those billions that they just spent. So this part right here, it's written in a weird way, but it says, one internal leader from the US is fighting to take over to right the ship, while many other across the Pacific want a much harsher method. So all of this right here, it's being phrased in a strange way, but I think what they're trying to say is that a lot of the developers here in the US that are working at PlayStation are kind of battling against PlayStation headquarters, who perhaps are just wanting to come in and sweep out all leadership, cut everything that isn't immediately profitable, and try and make it more in the green, even if it's not instantly making cash. The former US leader holds a lot of respect for the overseas leadership, so it's most likely that he or she will get their way. That person's perspective is that there are many gluttonous executives at Bungie who are not doing their jobs and are hindering the organization. It is believed that workers are skilled, but the leadership is unable to perform their duties. Now, this doesn't sound too surprising. A lot of game studios lately seems like they have a lot of very high paid, and if I'm being very mean, some incredibly stupid executives at the top who are getting a huge amount of pay. Like, my thought is that if a lot of these developers are getting $50,000 a year and you have two executives that are earning $2 million a year, it seems like it'd be pretty easy to fire the two executives that suck at their job and either hire a lot more freaking developers or at least get more help that isn't going to be as expensive and actually makes the games better. So it sounds like it is believed that the workers are skilled, but leadership is unable to perform their duties. This does sound like PlayStation is tempted to do a forced takeover. Bungie is in a hard spot because pre-order numbers are lower than anticipated. I apologize, I don't have actual numbers on this, but Sony believes that the finances will not allow Bungie to avoid a takeover even with another round of layoffs, as that would cannibalize development and future revenue. Wow, this is such an interesting thing. So it sounds like Sony realizes that there is a potential to make money off of Bungie, but they don't want to burn down the house to try and make an extra door. They realize, okay, we need to try and fire the people that suck and save the huge chunk of people that do know what they're doing so we can make some cash off of this beyond just the idea of making Destiny profitable. I'm sure they still want these games to be more lucrative than they currently are. Overall, Sony has been very upset at Bungie leadership. They have not been able to successfully advise Sony teams, and while Lightfall hit internal revenue targets, every target since has been missed at an escalating decline. So they're actually losing more and more and more money. Bungie leadership regular reschedule meetings with Sony leadership know that the next time slot can be months away. So they're trying to avoid their calls while attempting to boost those pre-order numbers. I think these guys can hear the guillotine calling. These guys are about to get chopped up. I hope this sheds some light on the ongoings from Sony's side. It is believed that the takeover could allow Sony to turn Destiny into a more profitable game. This sounds bad, but it's being treated as a lightning in a bottle. Sony leadership wants to nurture the game and understands that more aggressive monetization would not be healthy. Okay, even as a person that does not play Destiny, this to me is the best part of this entire leak, is straight up, I am sick of companies that buy a company or buy a studio or buy a game and then just fill it with microtransactions, expecting, oh, if one microtransaction makes us $20, then two microtransactions will make us $40. It never works like that. It always ends up blowing up in their faces. I'm glad that it sounds like Sony realizes that the game just needs to be good. But I still have to say, in all of this, I'm still shocked by the turnaround of it. This must have been bleak. PlayStation must have just been looking at this and immediately, right out of the gate, realizing they overpaid for it. This was said even when they initially bought it. $3.6 billion for Bungie just seems like I mean, most people were saying at the time that it was maybe worth about $2 billion, but they paid extra to keep the entire development team. Sometimes you'll pay less for a studio and then fire people down to the actual value. PlayStation purposely overpaid to keep the developers. So to me, it would be a huge shock if they started to fire the actual workforce. But what do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if this seems like a big old cup of malarkey, tell me your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I have a review coming up soon. I have a 20-minute long review for Dragon's Dogma 2 going up tomorrow. And I have a video about the Alone in the Dark reboot. I have a video for that coming out soon. So I love you guys very much. Now I'm going to get back to editing. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.